Hello and welcome to Erie Wellness Connect. Good morning, Stephanie. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Heather?
All
It's a
right.
wet day out today.
It's so wet and so gray and just too much, right?
It's nice for a break with the sun yesterday it was like a summer sun, but it was really nice to melt stuff out. I don't know. I'm good with all types of weather. Yeah.
Right.
I get
Yeah,
it.
when I was outside yesterday, I literally just opened my eyes wide and was like, get all the sun.
At the crepe shop, I had to move away from one of our windows because I'm not when we opened our new location, right, the sun hadn't been setting at those later times. So now the sun just beats in right where I have the crepe irons and it gets toasty. But I was standing there spinning out crepes, looking at one of those warming toys that starts moving on your car in the sun. You know what I mean? Anyways, so yeah. All right. So shoot
All right.
from the hips, my dear.
All right. Today, so the point of my podcast here is I really want to be able to introduce the Erie community to people who are doing amazing things and wellness wise. So people think of wellness specifically of working out and weights and
Yeah.
cardio and all that stuff. To
Yeah.
me, wellness is all about doing things in your life that make you feel better. And there are people in Erie who are creating spaces. The one thing that I love about you, Stephanie, and what you've created is that you always have such a welcoming,
Oh, thanks.
homey feel to you. Yes. Like I have always just felt as soon as I walk into your presence, like you're just a big hug. And the space that you create is exactly, it exudes exactly who you are,
Yeah.
and those spaces are very important for our community and for people
Yeah.
to know of those spaces, to be able to go to those spaces and feel comfortable with them. So that's why I wanted to bring you on here, Stephanie, so that we can share you with the Erie community a little bit more so that they can feel comfortable walking into your space. Not that they wouldn't as soon as they did anyways,
Cool.
but that that first step going into a space that you don't know is the
Yeah.
scariest step of all, right?
It is.
So
Yeah.
if we take down some barriers of introducing people to who we are and what we have to
Yeah.
offer, it just makes it easier for people to want to come and visit us, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
no, yeah, no. I was waiting for the question. I'm ready. I'm
Yeah,
amped.
just give me a freaking question. I'm ready. So, Stephanie, so
Hmm.
I was reading your website. We're going to go way back into the day when all of this started.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
says on there that you and a friend
Yeah.
had an idea that you wanted to start this business. And I don't know if you're still friends with that
I
friend, but I
am.
would love to hear how, because I know what that could be like sometimes, but I
Yes.
would love to hear how the inception of Give a Crepe, like why crepes and how did this all even come about?
That's a great question. The friend is my good friend Jen, and she was a server of the crew at Bertrand's. I brought her in. She's a teacher. She's absolutely phenomenal. And we really loved she and her husband and family go to Blue Heron Music Festival every year. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, what if we do the crepe
Are you
cart?"
talking about Jen?
Jen Gibbs. So I don't know if you know her.
Oh, I do know who she is.
Yeah,
Okay, yes. And Bertrand's that was on North Park
yeah,
Road.
yeah. So I managed
Okay.
there, and we were standing behind the bar. My children's father is from Erie, which is why I decided to stay up here, was for my kids to be able to have both parents once we split. But we hadn't split at the time. And her husband is from Edinburgh, and she's from Texas. So we were like, we're two girls who give a crepe, right? And I was like, oh my God, that's such a great name. That's such a great name. And she was like, yeah,
Where are you?
I'm a Navy brat.
Where,
I've lived in Erie for 19 years. In May will be 19 years. But yeah, no, my family's all in Pittsburgh and Florida and Indianapolis and all over the country.
okay. Okay.
When I say I go to visit family, I leave the county and more often than not leave the state. And that's like siblings and parents. Yeah, no,
So Give a Crepe.
yeah, so we said, "Oh, we could do a crepe cart at the Blue Heron. We could make so much money, but and it was just like a joke, but I was like, "Oh." So I started writing down recipes and names for recipes. So that was 2013. I started doing that, like,
Okay.
as a joke. I had never even spun out a crepe yet at that point. And I was bored one day, it was probably like the same day or in that week. And I asked the cook that was working, I was like, yo, dude, let me try spinning out a crepe. And it looked like garbage when I did it. And I was like, why aren't we doing this with everything? Like, we should make crepes for everything. This is the best thing in the world. It just made absolute sense to me. And then in 2016, I was managing Virgil's Plate on Six and Cascade. And Gary asked me, he was the owner of Virgil's, Gary and Aaron asked me, do you have, because their daughter Bree and her husband Jeff had just done like pop-ups, and they had moved, and he was like, hey, you can do crepes, right? And I was like, I have recipes. I mean, oh no. So I contacted Bertrand and borrowed the crepe irons. Gary let me use his space for, I was thinking honestly it was going to be a one-off, and that was 8 years ago. Yeah, we started the company, we being my children and I. My son created the Donkey Kong. They were the taste testers and everything that I've done. The recipes have come from experience with flavors and finding new things and trying to do something different, but also I have a history in massage therapy and Ayurvedic foods. So figuring out, yeah. So it's, my life is weird. So figuring
I
out,
didn't I think I knew that, but I didn't know that. I think it was in the recesses of my
yeah,
brain.
no, it's after I had my daughter, because she was born in Arkansas, and I was a partner in a massage studio and yoga studio. So I taught geriatric and prenatal massage in Arkansas, or yoga. And I did just traditional Swedish and some craniosacral massage. But after I had my daughter, I all of my care went into my kids and myself. Like, I couldn't touch anybody without not care without caring. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't there anymore. When we moved up to Erie, I got a job serving, and I love it. I love talking to people. I have a degree in interior design from my first university, and then massage therapy. And then I went back as an adult student. So my kids came to class with me. Eli was a baby, my son, and he was like wrapped in the boba wrap, which is now called something else, like one of those giant cloth wraps. And so they would come to school with me. I now have a degree as well in hospitality management. So, yay, school.
Wow.
Actually, I love education. Yeah. Yeah.
Stephanie, you are wow, that is amazing. Okay, keep going.
Yes.
Got a lot going on.
With the Ayurvedic, like, feeding people, what massage taught me was you get to see when somebody comes in, and you can give, it's not a creepy read on them, but it's just an open read on them. And kindness is first and foremost, but it's so much fun when people are like, just make me something, and you figure out what the last thing they had to eat, and so you can balance that in your spices and the taste buds, because it does bring a balance to the body. Let's say somebody had chocolate cake as their last thing that they had to eat, right, this morning, then, or lunch, brunch, you're going to want to do something to balance out that heaviness. So you go more into the savory route, a little bit more salty. You get a read on people in regards to that just by talking to them. And that's really a joy for me to know and get to know people that way and create those one-on-one experiences with anybody who walks through the door. And my staff does this as well now. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And you really do. Wow, all of that diverse background. I knew some of it, but I didn't know all of it. But I'll tell you what, all of those elements that you put together,
Thank you.
and isn't it cool to express it into, but
It's so much fun.
yeah, you didn't, but the thing is that as soon as you walk into your space, all of those elements are clear.
I,
As soon as I walk in, you act, hey, what's up? What's going on? We're already friends. And I didn't even freaking know you. And
yeah,
that's what I love about your space, right?
thank you.
Um, oh, go ahead.
When growing up as a child of a parent in the Navy, and us moving every 3 years, you have to be able to immerse yourself quickly into a culture that you have no knowledge of and be very open to anything that comes to you. And so that is one of the best experiences that has led me to here, was the fact that my parents had lived in many different states. I've lived in many different states. They lived overseas. I've traveled, and just to know in that we all, one, have to eat, and all have kindness moves so many things. And you can't, the saying, you can't judge a book by its cover, like, it's a true statement. I will say that when, as a child, when you are put into those situations where you have to make friends quickly, no matter who or what or anything, and then you react to people for how you give respect and get respect type of thing. So that's why when anybody who comes into the shop, we're friends, because at one point in time we might be, or we don't know. You aren't a friend until you say hello. So yeah, that's just my philosophy on that. Yep.
Yeah, and you there's people who say those words though,
Yeah.
your execution of it is just right on. So
Oh,
what
thank you.
yeah, what's coming from your heart, just so you know, people see it
Oh,
and we
thanks.
feel it, and yeah, and we absolutely love and adore it. We isn't me, but I'm sure that I know so many people who just, as soon as we are like, Stephanie, give a crepe, we freaking love her. That is everybody's reaction whenever I talk about you to anybody's. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about, so you and I have been growing our businesses together.
Yes.
I started mine in 2010. And
Okay.
so we've,
All right. Hey,
whenever we
we're back.
businesses together, I started mine in
Yeah,
our
no,
evolution
I had to
as
switch over
we
to my phone
and
because
executing them
my internet is being wonky with the weather, and now I can actually
and
walk
taking
around
what
too.
we love and sharing it with other
I
people.
don't know where we left off.
And then now we're growing our spaces. So tell me about going from pop-ups to your first space, I believe up on Peach Street there. And then now where you're at, how that
Yeah,
evolution, how you're feeling about all that.
right. So sorry. Um, We started as a pop-up with the kindness of Bertrand and Luann Artigue. They lent me their crepe irons. Gary lent me his space, and yes, I did pay rent, and that's perfectly acceptable. It helped grow the business and know like my costing, because I paid my staff, even though they were volunteers. I paid them an hourly rate, so I knew what to charge people accordingly. And then we went from the pop-ups. So that was 2 years at Virgil's monthly. And then we also, in 2017, we started doing Sunday brunches at Cart and Horse. And they were just a trade base. A lot of these people, yeah, we did brunches at Cart and Horse. So a lot of them were just trade bases of, if I come in, like, I'll give you guys crepes instead of paying a percentage and paying a flat rate fee, because you don't know what's going to come in on a pop-up. Or, with these like food trucks in 2017, there was 4 of us. There's now, I think, 87 in Erie County. It's huge. Yeah. And then we went to Erie Ale Works, hosted us, Ember and Forge after Cart and Horse, just because of travel out there and just different means. And part of giving a crepe about Erie, which is our motto, is going to different places in Erie so that multiple people can be able to try different
You're
things and get
funny.
a city feel without having to leave 90 minutes to 2 hours away. Um, we were
There
at
you are.
Ember and Forge for Sundays, every 2
There you
Sundays.
are.
It got a lot with managing Virgil's and the pop-ups. So we went to the art museum from December of 2018 to
Where the hell did we leave off? I
March
lost you at, I
of
asked you about,
2019.
oh, you
So
were
we were in their little
complimenting
food
me
court
on
area.
my
Um,
business plan, which I'm
excuse me,
gladding off
gave me
that
the
way, but I'm really
idea
just flying by the
of
seat of my pants too.
one, having a
And
place
then we
to
were
come
talking about
into
going from
every
pop
day
up to your
and
first
store
location
food
to
and
where you're at
hold it
now.
and know my time temperatures and what staff I needed, what drinks I needed, what it's like to be in a daily operation instead of just a pop up. At that point in time, we got our catering license as well as mobile. And then in 2019, in April, we popped up, or in March of that year, I popped up at Tipsy Bean, and the owner, Giselle, she looked at me and she was like, "Why aren't you running next door?" I was like, "'Cause you're renting to somebody else." And she was like, "No, fuck that, come tomorrow,
This is why
sign
it's
a lease."
recorded. I can edit it
And
all
I
out.
was told by everybody to not to. 'Cause yeah, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna do it." Like, the art museum was because a friend knew the director, and one of the long-term people of why I started doing gluten-free crepes, she worked there. So they were like, "Hey, we have this idea, you wanna try it?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So almost everything with my businesses has been a sure, why not? Because you don't know unless you try. And even this space that we just moved into, I had told Lonnie, my long-term employee, I was like, "Listen, dude, I'm done. I'm not looking anymore. I'm done." Everywhere downtown was charging minimum of $3,500, where I was paying that's a
I
month.
remember.
I'm paying y'all utilities, and that is not viable for a small business who has no grants, no the backing that I put into the shop is from the customers coming in and supporting me. So it really is an Erie community-based business. And then on Earth Day, Green Waves Compost, she asked for a crepe cake for her
Ooh,
composting party
wow.
at the shop at 19th. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I dropped it off, and the owner of the shop at 19th, Rachel, she was like, "Hey, you wanna check out this space?" And I'm thinking because I had been there before, that it was gonna be like this 8 by 9 little space. So I went in, "Nah, I'll entertain you on this, sure." And I walked in, I went, "Oh, shit, this can work. This can fucking work." And I set my terms, something that I've learned over the years with working with Giselle, who owns Tipsy Bean, and then also just, I think, growing more into my own is knowing my boundaries of what I will and will not allow in my business. I won't allow negativity, but I also won't say no. That's or I won't say yes to everything, and I've learned how to say no and what I require. And that's something also you've probably gone through, Heather, to where you have learned to say, "No, I can't do every wellness fair." No. It's definitely we got rid of our mobile license in 2022. There were pop-ups and it's man, it was a bash to my ego, but that's what it was driven by was my ego that I wasn't selling out every pop-up that I did. And then when I took a step back, I realized it's because the food truck and new restaurants coming into Erie County it's big. That the customer base just wasn't there like it used to be in 2018, 2019. And I also have now a brick and mortar. So let me focus on that. Let me focus on catering, get rid of mobile. I'll be able to have set prices so that way I know what I can pay my
Mhm.
staff. I don't have to worry about being in the negative or having info. It's just so that was a really good change of my business regarding that. That makes sense. But yeah. That's the lifeline. I've been reading this book. It's The Vision of Leadership. I think it's in my living room.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it's a great book. It talks about having a vision and then also how to direct that and drive that into your employees and into your customer base. So I have been working on that because my vision has always just
Yep.
been the motto, giving a crepe about Erie, whatever that could entail to an extent. Um, we've been able to get to that by we now use in the summer months we go
Right.
to SSJ and their Monday markets, right? Um, Good Hill Farms is one of our constant suppliers for gardens. In the summer months, again, we use Good Waves
Oh my
for
God.
their
Yeah,
composting.
I've got a year
Our
coming up
eggs
of
come
saying a lot
from
of
Erie
no's,
County.
so
We
preparing
try to
myself for that.
utilize local as much as possible so that way every bite is a bite of Erie. Yeah, I attest that to traveling overseas and seeing how cultures and big cities in the States really do support the local community so much. You know what I mean? They know that their neighbors are their neighbors. Does that make sense? Instead of it being like somebody down the way. And mind you, like, yeah, I definitely have bananas in my shop. We do not grow bananas in Erie that I'm aware of. There's a realism to who I am and what I do, but it's yeah, without I don't know, it's
Yep.
such a small community that
Absolutely.
it's
Traveling
silly to me to
is
not know as
important.
many parts of
Yeah.
it as possible.
Yeah, it's Am I losing you? Oh, go ahead. Can you hear me or you are a tip girl. And this may be a really good example of what you're talking about, how you fly by the seat of your pants. Mhm. Right. Yes. Yes. That was something I was gonna ask you about too. I know you're very big on local and community, and you really do try to source, the majority of your food locally, so I'm glad that you brought that up. That's perfect. Yep. You touched on it real quick there though too. I think one of the things that our community loves about you is the fact that you are real and you have no problem with stating, "Hey, this is the truth and this is the way it is. It just is the way it is." I know too many people in business who try to word things correctly and make things you're no bullshitter, right? I'm not going to feed you a line of shit. And you were saying earlier about not selling out at your pop-ups. You know for damn sure there's a lot of people out there who are pretending like they're selling out at things. It's because of the way they word it. Yeah, right. Yep. Yep. Mhm. Right. Right. Yep. I am losing you again, so I don't know where you're at, but if you can find a spot where, yeah, at the moment. There it is. All right. That'll work. Nope, I lost you. Oh, I can see you now. There is like, are you on Wi Fi or are you on your phone data? Yeah. Okay. Let's find one good spot and then we'll wrap it up with some rapid fire questions about you. Where are you at? I feel like this is good right here. Don't don't move. So, all right. So, a couple of questions for you. What is your favorite crepe on your menu, Miss Madame? Mm, those are the joys of getting older. Yeah, those are the joys of getting older, though, too. Yeah, for sure. Are you a morning or night person? Yeah. Tell us about a book that significantly influenced you. No, that's a good one. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Tell us of a culinary destination that you'd love to go to. Oh, So that actually, that's funny that you say that because I'm coming up, I'm going to be interviewing. Have you met Christy Baird yet? She just bought Chicory Hill. Yeah, stop into Chicory Hill. Tell her I sent you. She's an herbalist and she is all about so she does plant walks around the city of Erie where she takes the plants, your native plants, and cooks with them, tells you how you can use it for medicinal purposes, all that type of stuff. That might be a really nice connection for you just to maybe start down that path a little bit. You know what I mean? Yes, Ryzen. Yep. Oh, yeah, super cool. So, just to wrap up today, Stephanie, I really appreciate you hopping on here with me. I would take advantage of any moment I could to spend with you because I just love your energy. I love what you bring to Yuri. And to me, that is what wellness is about creating positivity, creating home spaces. What a big thing for me is this creating a third space where people can go and just be themselves. And I think that is just so important, especially nowadays where we're working from home, being home all the time is just very important. So we thank you so much for just being you, Stephanie. Exactly, exactly. Oh, lady, you and me, I'll tell you what, I love these journeys that us entrepreneurs find ourselves going on together. And it's really neat to see our growths and just the mutual admiration for both of us. Because we know the internal struggles that we're all going through. We might not show it all the time, but I think that's where, yeah, that admiring each other and the fact that we get up every day and just keep freaking doing it's amazing. So thank you so much, Stephanie. All right. All right. And you stay here because I'll meet you backstage, okay?